Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this very short video I'm going to show you on how I have removed and installed a wheel bearing on the RP30, which is mounted in the upright. Formula Ford RP30 had a lot of play on the left side rear wheel. Now this is the right side, this one is good, and I had to replace the bearing. And as you can see, I already have removed the upright. This is the upright, which is normally sitting in place like this. And I already had it disconnected because I already have replaced the bearing. And I'll show you on how I've done this, because this turned out to be not that easy if you don't use the right method. So here we have it, the upright with already the new bearing installed. The old bearing is right here. And then, of course, these are all the elements that I still have to fit inside the upright, where we connect then the drive shaft. And all that is coming very shortly. But now let me show you on how I actually got this old bearing out of that upright, and how I got the new bearing in. So the way I got this old bearing out of the upright was very simple. I used a wooden block, as you can see, like right here. I drilled a hole in it, a hole big enough so that the old bearing could come through it. So that way I could knock it all the way out, so like this, right? So that can go out. That hole then matches up perfectly the backside of this to actually support the whole upright, because you don't want to knock it into pieces. Once the upright was upside down on the wooden block with the hole facing down, I was able to use a big socket, which was just about the size that fits inside the upright on the backside, as you can see right here. And then all I needed to do was really knock on that socket. But not too hard, not to crack, of course, the upright. If you heat up the upright a bit, it's going to go better. But in my case, it was cold, about 25 degrees, but I was still able to knock that out with about 10-20 gentle knocks, hard enough, but not too hard. Yeah, my cat is going a little bit crazy sometimes. And that was it, to remove it.
Now let's start talking about how I installed the new bearing. So I'm going to cool down that bearing, and I'll place it in the freezer for that purpose, and I set it to about minus 20 degrees centigrade. And if you're going to do this, you might want to get your wife or your girlfriend out of the house, because they may not be too happy with this. But then again, my parts were very clean, so that was not an issue. The upright itself, I placed that in the oven, and I'm going to heat it up to about 100 degrees centigrade. So the heat will expand the upright, so the opening will be larger, and the cold in the freezer is going to shrink the bearing. So here I'm going to set it to about 100 degrees centigrade, I believe, and I heat it both in the top and on the bottom. I think it's just a little bit below that. And then I waited until it was heated up for about an hour or so. I had the other part in the freezer for about 24 hours. And then I made some special tools in between. The tool on the right is to support the upright, and the tool on the left is to knock in actually that new bearing. So sometimes you have to make tools. And I used an old mini CV joint for that. And here that is, and you can see that. I put some tape around this one because it was a bit too small. I didn't want it to slide. On the bottom I have a hole, and there's a screw on the wooden block, so it doesn't slide off. And then the circle, or the diameter of that, is a proper match towards the upright in the back. And then the part on the right is what I'm going to use to knock in the bearing. And you'll see that. You see, that is an exact fit. You don't want to knock on the bearing in any other place than the actual outer race. Otherwise, you're going to destroy the bearing even before it's even installed. So here's my upright. Of course, this is not upside down. This is my support part. This is going in. You've seen that before. And the tape is just there to make sure it's the right diameter, because it was a little bit too small, but just to hold it in the right place, right? So we're going to put that in there. and of course we'll have to flip over the upright because that is not going to work otherwise. And this is the wooden block. This is a piece of oak, very solid wood, and there it is. So now I can flip that over and actually trying to get the new bearing in. And here you see how I've done it. Now this is the real side. This is the support for the upright. The upright is now going over it. So really I cannot crack the upright as long as the bearing is of the right size, of course. And now I can take the bearing on the top and install the bearing by gently knocking it in. Now this is the old bearing because the new one is already in. And here we go with the tool, and I just need to knock on that so it can go all the way in. And the tool that I'm using is slightly smaller in diameter than the actual bearing, so I can get it easily out. Now I cannot show you the real placement of that bearing because I had to work real fast because the upright was hot. My bearing was really cold, so I had to get this done very quickly. So I didn't have the time to film this, but this is the way I really actually got it in, by hammering that in with a couple of very short dry strokes with the hammer. I didn't have to knock very hard. I have to say that the upside part of the upright, where the bearing just goes in, I actually sanded that rim a little bit so it would go in easier. So this is how easy it is to install this, and I had some good advice from some of my friends in Crack. Here you see how it's been installed, and this is looking good. So now we will be able to install all this. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. And remember, sometimes you may have to make tools without having to go out and buy them. So I made the tools here from an old mini CV joint, which I saved, and I just grinded it down a little bit so we made it to match. And that allowed me to put in that bearing on the outer race perfectly. So now I can go ahead and reassemble it.